Hello, everybody. It's Ben from Grappling Insider. Today, I am really happy to be joined by somebody who is a bit of an entrepreneur in the jiu-jitsu space. Different than our normal guest, but is going to bring a really interesting perspective. She is the one of the co-owners of Battle Grappling, a Pacific Northwest-based grappling promotion. Lara Carter. Lara, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Thanks. So there's all kinds of things we want to talk about today, but first of all, just give me a background, like your personal background a little bit, and also just kind of the elevator spiel of what is battle grappling and what makes it special.
Well, I started in other sports. Actually, I did ice skating and some other things that are really bad for your knees. And then when I met my husband, he was a mixed martial artist and he was training at a gym. And we were dating for a while and we got engaged. And then he got me into training. He, the usual like, oh, you want to like do private lessons with me sort of like pick up line. And so I started training about that time. We actually don't train very well together at all. Like we're very competitive and he's much better than I am. So, and we're different sizes. He's a flyweight and I'm a heavyweight. So it's like, we don't tend to train together very much anymore, but when we started, we did. And after a certain amount of time, my husband was the gym manager and the owners were like, well, we're not really into running this gym. They had two other gyms of their own down in Seattle area. And they were like, we're just going to close it. And so I was like, hey, honey, I've got some money in my account. We should buy it. And he was like, okay, no problem. And so we bought our gym from his coaches. And so we both started running a gym, probably a little bit too early. We were an MMA gym, so we weren't belted for a long time. So my husband's been doing martial arts since about 2005. But just mostly fighting and like MMA grappling. And then I've been training since about 2014, but that, not seriously until probably about 2016.
Okay. Keep going.
So then, so I'm a blue belt and he is a brown belt. And our lineage is, MMA lineage is under Matt Hume and Charlie Pearson out of Seattle. He's the wizard. And then our jiu-jitsu lineage is through Zenith, through Kavaka. So it's always interesting when you're an MMA gym because you always have like these multiple lineages because you have like your jiu-jitsu lineage and then you have your MMA lineage. So it's always funny to say that. But Battle Grappling actually got started because we, as new gym owners, we weren't making a ton of money. So I was like, okay, let's start having smokers at our gym. Let's start having people come and like do like amateur fights where, there's no winner, but they get experience. And then we happen to have a friend that we met in the community up here named Gabriel Austin Daffron, who's kind of gotten a little bit more famous in the combat jiu-jitsu scene and also like national grappling scene. So he started coming to us and saying, hey, I have like 6 guys who want to grapple me. I'm going to have them pay me to grapple me on your show, your smoker. And I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. We're using a boxing ring and MMA cage, but that's fine. If you want to like mug these guys, that's fine. Because that's kind of what it is. He would have people come and challenge him and he would say, okay, pay $150 each. And then you can come and grapple me on Lara and Hunter's show. And he would always win the money. Like it's so funny because like these guys would keep coming back and trying to grapple him for their money. And he would still be making the money because he's a poor jiu-jitsu athlete. So he needed the money. He needed money to go to like finishers, to be able to go combat jiu-jitsu worlds, ultimate mat warriors. So he was they were sponsoring him essentially. It was an interesting thing. But then over time, the smokers, like we're looking at the card and there are 3 MMA or not MMA, kickboxing. There's no MMA on a smoker. I don't know what I'm thinking. There are like 3 kickboxing fights on this card and like 20 grappling matches. And so we decided in February 2020 that we would do an all grappling show and kind of see how that went. And based on that, we were really successful. We had about 200 people come and watch the show. And we had athletes all from all over 3 states come and want to compete because there really wasn't anything in this area that was like that. So then we decided to start the company Battle Grappling.
What's up, everyone? Chances are, if you're tuning into this interview, you probably train in jiu-jitsu, whether it's in the gi, no gi, or both. I've been training for about 13 long years now myself, and when it comes to the gear that I like to use, I personally recommend Rev Gear. They have a premium gi that I love. They have an ultralight competition gi. They have grappling shorts. They even have rash guards that are pretty understated in design, but still really sharp looking. High quality gym bags, even backpacks that can hold multiple gis. So basically just like everything you would need for BJJ training. The best part for me personally is that nothing on that site will break the bank. We're not talking $75, $80 rash guards or $250 gis. Everything that RevGear offers is super reasonably priced, which personally I love. To make it even sweeter, RevGear is offering a 10% discount on every purchase made on revgear.com when you use the promo code INSIDER10 at checkout. That's INSIDER10 for 10% off anything and everything you buy on the site. I will also drop a link in the video description below. Again, I cannot recommend their stuff enough. Everything I have from RevGear fits well, it's solidly made, and in my experience, holds up great in the long run. Again, head over to revgear.com. That's REVGEAR.com. Use the promo code INSIDER10 for 10% off any purchase made and get some quality gear at a phenomenal price. Now, back to the interview. Great story. How many shows have you run since then? Like, give me since he said February 2020, correct? Since it's been kind of all grappling, how many shows have you run, and like, how big is a typical show?
So it's been let's see. It's so funny because we forget every time we run a show. We're like, is it 8 or 9? I think it's about 10 at this point. I've only done 4 on FloGrappling, but we've done about 10 total.
Okay.
And it's been really interesting because we started it right before the pandemic hit. Unfortunate timing. And so like we had the first show in February 2020, and then March everything shut down. So then we were just sort of like, oh great, what do we do with this thing that we started that seems to be like a really cool thing where a lot of people want to be on it. You know, we made a lot of friends from this. And so during the pandemic, we actually had 2 shows. We had a secret show that we didn't tell anyone about. We just we were going to film it documentary style, and we invited the competitors to come, and it was just them and us in the gym, and we did a secret show. And I think it was probably like our least successful show because it was just like it was a moment where like we all of us thought our gyms were going to get shut down and that we were never going to be able to do what we usually do again, or maybe not have a business. So it was kind of like let's just come and do something that we love and like give people a place where they can do their art even though we're all shut down, because Washington State actually was really probably had some of the most restrictive guidelines of any state in the US. So we were keeping it really on the down low. And then from that show, we found some really talented athletes, people I had never seen before, who are now sort of hitting it in the big time. It's interesting. But after that, we did another it wasn't so secret, but it was during the pandemic. We did a teen girls tournament, and we did like a double elimination, like 8-girl bracket. And it was girls from like 12 to 18. And some of them were blue belts, some of them were like lower children's belts. But those videos on YouTube got 13K views, 14K views, like the single videos, and the show itself, like a couple thousand views. So that's when it really just started popping because people were really excited. This tournament, like our rule set's a little interesting. We tend to be a little less restrictive with things with younger people. So like they were allowed to do some leg entanglements. They were allowed to do like a straight Achilles. They were allowed to do toe holds. They weren't allowed to do heel hooks. You know, a lot of them already know heel hooks, weirdly enough. But they were excited about the expanded rule set and they really went after it. And those videos were really a big hit.
It's fun. So are you doing, is it mostly super fights with a tournament mixed in? Like, what is a typical kind of format of the show?
You know, it changes depending on how we're feeling and what we're getting application wise. So like what the secret tournament we did that was like our least popular, we did a format called David and Goliath tournament where we did like a smaller bracket of guys and then we did a larger bracket. And it's so funny. My husband hates this format. I love it. I'm like, honey, everybody loves the gimmick in jujitsu. They love the underdog winning. You know, we all hope that. Like, I mean, most of the time, you know, the big guy wins, but like we all love an underdog thing in this community. We love seeing people persevere over like the odds. So everybody loves the David and Goliath. My husband hates it. He's like, oh, it's so annoying. Like I hate this format. And the funny thing, when we first ran that tournament, the smallest guy won. He was under the weight for the tournament by like 15 pounds, and he beat everybody. He beat the biggest competitor in the tournament. And so it actually did work out the way we wanted to market it. But we do like things like that. We do a lot of women's tournaments. We do unusual weight classes that a lot of people don't recognize. We did an all women's show this last February where we did a 170 title, and it was amazing. Like I had women coming out of the woodwork, like black belts who are world champions, who are like, I don't ever get to make cash. Like I never make money from jujitsu, and I know I can win a cash prize at your show. It's an all women's show. And this coming September, we're actually doing a women's heavyweight title for cash. So we also try to show like smaller guys as well and bigger guys as well, because, you know, you don't really like, you get to see sort of 155 to 185, but you don't really get to see outside of those. And it's the same with women. You see just mostly people who are like, you know, like maybe 125 to 145. And it's extremely limiting in grappling. You know, people want to see other types of grapplers. And it's funny because like I've had people say to me when I do these different types of brackets, like I did a tournament with purple and blue belts where we did 185 women. And I had a lot of people come to me and they're like, you'll never find that many women. You'll never find them. And I had 10 women and an 8-person bracket. So I had alternates. And all those women showed up and they killed it.
Wow.
So never say never.
Yeah. And these are all
Because
professional matches? Like you like they're getting paid?
yeah,
That's
and we
incredible. Yeah.
we and we pay as much as we can. Like at this point, Battle Grappling makes no money. Like we pay our EMTs and our staff, and pretty much put all the money towards the athletes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point that like people, especially like women in these lower or like lower populated, I should say, weight classes where there's fewer competitors, if you just offer them an opportunity, they're going to jump on it because most tournaments they probably have to go against somebody who's not even close to their weight or somebody who's way older or way younger. So I think it makes sense that you get people in these more fringe weight classes to come out of the woodwork because they want to compete.
Well, they do, and they're just like it's kind of sad. It makes me upset sometimes when they talk to me because they're like, I'm so grateful that you paid me. Like, thank you for paying me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you are an advanced grappler. Why wouldn't you expect to get paid? Like, I can tell you that I've competed before, and I'm not a competitor. I'm more of like an academic grappler. I love grappling for grappling's sake. I'm not a competitor. My husband's a competitor. And I can tell you how many times he's gotten injured. He's had his leg popped, his knee popped, and he just not getting paid. He's just like, and he's a brown belt, and he's going out there and he's killing himself every day, and it's for to pay tuition and not to like get paid. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, jujitsu is definitely at this point one of those things that people, if they do it at that level, they do it for the love of it and really no other reason. Um, what's the rule set of your typical matches? Is it like
We do
EBI, sub only? Yeah, go ahead.
we do like a modified sub only. We say modified because we do 10-minute matches for our advanced, and then we lower it for like, so if we have kids, we'll do like a 5-minute match. If it's like intermediate, we'll do about 7 or 8, but like 10. And 10 is a really big thing because so we're in the PNW, and we also have Submission Underground up here, and they only do like I think a 5-minute match. And can I tell you, the people around here hate it. Like they love the show, they love being on Fight Pass. They hate like they get to 5 minutes and they just start to get a submission, and then the clock goes and it's OT. And so there have been a lot of matches on that show in particular that could have gone so much further, and it didn't because it's 5 minutes. So a lot of people like that we have that like 10-minute mark, that we allow a lot of submissions, because there are a lot of tournaments, and I get it because it's a liability thing for them. And also, you don't want someone in a bracket to blow out their knee. So they have like amended rule sets. So with having a sub only show, you're able to have these expanded rule sets and give people an opportunity to shine, because some people don't get started really until like 5 minutes into the match sometimes. But we've also, like, one thing we've done that I'm really excited about. I'm more of a gi player. My husband's more of a no gi player, which is interesting. I do gi matches in EBI sub only. And it's funny because like a lot of people act shocked about that. And I'm like, it works perfectly. You just change the grips on the OT. You grab the gi instead of, your hands, or spider web. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? But like gi matches in EBI, super exciting. Like people go after it because they're not so worried about the points.
Yeah.
Like we did in February, we did the all women's show. We did a 4-woman black belt gi title, and these women were trying to kill each other. Like they were really going for it. They were taking a lot of risks because they weren't afraid of the points, and they weren't afraid of having to go to turtle. And you could see the grappling expressed itself much more in a pure fashion, sort of, even in the gi and EBI.
Absolutely. And I know it's a constant struggle to try to find the perfect rule set. I know one doesn't quite exist yet, but I would tend to agree with you that sub only produces a lot of fun jujitsu. And I would also agree that, I haven't, Submission Underground has not put on a show for well over a year at this point, but those 5-minute matches were extremely frustrating. I'm not from the Pacific Northwest, just as a fan to watch, because it's like, we're just playing to overtime and nothing else here. There's not enough time.
Well, it was like, I remember one in particular. It was Mason Fowler versus Craig Jones. And it was just like, what is happening in this match? And then there was like that fake tap that happened. And I don't know. There was a lot. It's a lot. And it's not enough time. It's not enough time for people to actually work into something. I mean, there's a reason MMA fights are 5-minute rounds for pro fights, but they're 15 minutes total. And there's a reason.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I'm curious, what are your both short-term and long-term goals for the promotion?
So my short-term goal is to start to branch out a lot more. We just had our first remote show in February. We went down to Portland. Our home gym is based out of Bellingham. We're Bellingham MMA. So that's where we have a majority of the shows, is our gym. I have done event venues before, but they're not as safe for the athletes. There's not like, I have first aid at my gym. I have a first aid kit. I have AMTs. And it's just safer because, you're bringing mats into a space where it's like a hall or something, and they're rolling off the mats into wood and things. I just find that the gyms are a little bit safer to have shows in. I like to travel around. Like we just did this February show in Portland. We did it at 10 Planet Portland. And it was important to have the show there, our first remote one there, because they're a real big hub of jiu-jitsu up here in the PNW. Phil Schwartz and Amanda Lowen. Amanda Lowen's the SUG female champion. She's pretty well known, I think, nationally. And Phil has been doing a lot of really cool things. They do the Nogi Summit up there. So it's like a hub for people to go up here to go to like events. So, and their gym is beautiful. Like the whole point of doing this remote thing is to get more people into the show, bring in more money for the athletes, get people to be able to compete in their hometown. That's the most exciting thing. And showcase local gyms, and beautiful gyms at that. Like if we can go in and do a remote show at a gym and they get like 10 more members, that's just supporting the community. Yeah. So that's the short-term goal. The long-term goal is, so I have a producer that works on the show with us. He's a very intelligent guy. He's actually works for the Department of Defense as a software programmer. He runs our production side of it and our tech stuff. So I do the matchmaking, and I do the graphics. My husband does the reffing and the rules, and Clark Wrinkler, he does our production. So he runs the show as we're going, because he can fix it if it starts going wrong. But he and I are in the process of building a streaming service actually for small grappling shows. So we're hoping to release that next year. The name of it is Daruma. And what it'll do is it'll be similar to YouTube, where people can go and they can put their stream for their small show on there, and they can promote it. And so normally how it works in streaming is it's like 30-70. So like if you put your show on Twitch, you get 30% of the money, Twitch gets 70% of the money. We're going to flip that model. We're going to take 30 because we have to run the website and we have to run the computers at Amazon to stream stuff, you know how that works. And then the person putting the show on the platform will get 70. So we're flipping that script because I really do believe that how we build this community is giving the money back to the people who are making the shows. Like a lot of the shows on streaming services are not produced by the shows that or by the company that's putting them on. It's the people behind the scenes. And by doing this, I can provide the shows with more money to pay the athletes.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, and I like that plan. Are you thinking like nationwide, any small show, right? There's a small promotion where I live in Kansas City. Is you can offer that service to them? Is that kind of the plan?
Exactly. And you know, it'll be like YouTube where you can sign up. Like you sign up. I mean, there are like limits to like if your show's super problematic, maybe we won't have you on. But you know, generally you should be able to just sign up for an account. We're like in the trial stages right now. This is what we've been doing the last year, is working on this website. Like we just got our payments set up so it can like do its thing. I'm not on the tech side. I just designed like all the graphics on this thing. So Clark does all that part of it. But it's interesting. Like so you can log into it, set up an account, and you can pretty much stream from there and sell your live stream. Like one thing that we've decided, so this is kind of veering into flow territory. One big problem with FloGrappling is that they do not offer like on-demand pay-per-view for a lot of their things. And so like one thing I found over the last year that I've been with them is that like I was losing a lot of money. Like I would have people come to me, like people's family members, and they would be like, well, we have family members all over the US. We just want to buy the pay-per-view at like $40, $50. They don't care. They want to see, you know, Aunt Alicia go out there and kill it in the 185 bracket. And, you know, her family's telling me that they wanted to do it, but they don't want to pay $150 to $180 a year. They want to pay $50, watch Aunt Alicia once, and then say goodbye, you know, have, you know, memories of that. So like I was doing the math because people were coming to me and saying, hey, I don't want to sign up for this really expensive service. I'm not really into jiu-jitsu. And I figured out like for one show, I was losing like a couple $1,000s. And I'm like, crap, you know, that's money I could pay to the athletes. Like that's a big opportunity we're missing out on. So what we plan to do with Daruma is we're going to make it a pay-per-view streaming service. We're also, one thing we're going to do, and these are things, the reason we're developing this is because I did work with Flow. And I saw the things that weren't working for me as an outside producer. First of all, I don't like being called an outside producer because that sounds very like you don't belong here. So what we're going to call our people, we're going to call them partners, because this is a partnership. We're all small shows coming together to promote what we love, which is jiu-jitsu or grappling or wrestling, you know, different things like that. But oh man, I hope I didn't lose track of what I was thinking. Oh, so it's going to be like YouTube where you sign up for an account and all of the things are keyed in for you to do your stream. Hopefully it'll make it super simple. And you put your stream up and you sell it. And you know, people want that. People want that option. People also want to be able to market their own stuff. Like it's really interesting when you work for Flow because everything is done still on Google Docs. Like they send you a Google sheet and you fill that out with all of your show information and like your logo and stuff. But the problem is that there's like, they're growing so fast as a company, they can't keep up with all the shows that they're producing or outside producing or putting on the platform. So what happens is that oftentimes you have to kind of nag them to put up your cover photo up on FloGrappling. And so like with this system that we're building, you should be able to just upload all of your marketing materials without having to contact a person. Like it's it's hard to run a company that is growing, and I understand that about Flow, but you have to put in systems to sort of be able to catch all of these issues. Like when I signed with Flow, I got 10 emails from 10 different executives at Flow. And so for a long time, I didn't realize who was in charge of our account because it wasn't very clear. Because I'm like, is it one of these 10 people? Who are these people that I'm talking to? Like they have different titles, but I didn't really feel like I had someone face to face to deal with. And so that really took away. And if I'm not going to have somebody to deal with, I'd like to just be able to upload my own stuff and like do my own marketing and stuff like that.
For sure. Actually, hold on. I'm getting some feedback on my mic here. 1 second. Hold that thought. Sorry about that.
No, it's quite okay.
I want to make sure the sound sounds good. So I think that's, it's a pretty common story that you hear kind of all over the country of people that want to just catch their sister's match at Fight to Win or whatever it might be, and then they don't want to pay for a full year. You don't have to be super specific, but I'm curious, like, how much do you think people would typically pay for that single event pay-per-view?
Well, before I signed with Flow, actually, we did single pay-per-views. And so I started out when we first ran the show, because obviously the stream was not good. We were still learning. I charged like $15 and I would sell it on Eventbrite for $15 and we'd give them a YouTube link. Like it was super basic back then. We didn't want to play Vimeo or anything because we were just starting out. And so people would buy it. I got like 70 to 100 people buying it. And then when I raised the prices, because the level of talent went up on the show, and nobody complained about it. They were like, oh, that makes sense. You're bringing in world champion black belts. Like you're bringing in some of the best people in our area. So it makes sense. Like the price makes sense. So like by the time I signed with Flow, we were selling it for 35 to 40 and we were getting like 100 people buying it. So it's like, that's not a bad amount of money. And, once you get like a system set up where people can't steal it, because, unfortunately for YouTube, it's open. So if anybody shares the link. So it was funny about the time that I signed with Flow. One of the reasons I decided to sign with Flow is because I had a show in June and we looked at the numbers and we sold about maybe 150 live streams. That was the best one because we went to Flow after that. So we didn't have numbers after that. And then 6,000 people watched it. Wow. So clearly, like, the numbers were not matching up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I did have a funny moment because, like, I'm not calling 10th Planet out, but I have a feeling they were sharing the link because Keith Kokorian messaged me and was like, hey, I want to be on the show. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember seeing your name in the live stream purchase. So I went through and I scrolled through and I was like, no, he didn't buy the show. And I was like, who'd you get the show from? And he was like, oh, I got it from this other guy. And so then I contact that guy and he's like, oh, no, I got it from this guy. And I'm like, interesting. But it's nice. It's nice to have like some somewhat famous people start to notice your show and want to be on it. I'm still pretty like regional at this point. So I don't have Keith Kokorian money yet.
Man, we are big Keith Krikorian fans at Grappling Insider, so that'd be cool.
No, I love him. He's a nice guy. He came up here and did a local show. We used to host shows at our gym too. And so he came up and did a show at our gym and we got to have dinner with him. He's a really nice guy. He's probably one of my favorite people in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure. Did you go to Flow and ask if they would do a single event pay-per-view? Did you try to get anything moving there?
I didn't because, I don't feel like they're willing to change their format whatsoever. Like, I feel like the impression that I get from talking with other people who have signed with Flow, they're not really receptive to that sort of thing. And if you do, they're like, well, we're not interested in continuing because, this is how we do it. And I get that. Like, I know that as a business owner and promoter from my end, like I have people come to me all the time and they're like, I don't like the rule set. And I'm like, okay, well, then don't do the show. Sorry, it's getting windy here.
That's okay.
No, so in my perspective, I was like, I'm not going to waste their time with that because I just think I could do it better. Like, I think Clark and I can come up with a thing. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers that next year we make this thing happen. Since I'm saying that, I think we could run something really good.
For sure. Were you satisfied with the level of promotion that Battle Grappling received while with Flow?
Oh, definitely not. I think that I think in the case of Flow, I think that they want a lot of programming, but they're not so interested in promoting anybody but their own shows. I think that like, and Gordon Ryan in a bathtub, and that's okay. Some people really like that kind of marketing. I think that it's funny because our marketing is very what's the word? Eccentric. We're a little eccentric in our marketing. Like we do very like for the women's show, we did poker cards as our posters, and we did poker chips. And I think that like Flo didn't really understand what we were going for. We have a lot of fun. And I think that the market that they really want to appeal to is one, their own shows, but also they want to appeal to sort of like jiu-jitsu is tough. Like, look how edgy we are. But I run an MMA gym. I have fighters. My husband's a fighter. I matchmake fights. I don't want to be edgy. I want to have fun. And I think grappling is fun. It can be hard, but it can be fun. And I have a lot of fun. Like I talked to Finishers, the owner, Zach Mislani, and I think he likes to have fun too. I just think that they weren't really sure what to do with us because we don't really fit into what they do, which is like the seriousness of grappling, like professional. You can be professional and still have fun. Like we, for all our shows, we do a promo. And they're always really funny. They're like based on like the theme of the show. Sorry, I'm gonna cough for a minute. Oh, it's very like polleny out here in Vegas. I did not realize like I live in the Pacific Northwest and it's very rainy. There are a lot of trees out here. So we do like themes and we base the like promos off that theme. So we did like a Miami Vice themed show where we're like getting out of a car and we're like Crockett and the other guy, I don't remember, Tubbs. And we're like slow walking with the belts into the gym and there's a fog machine and stuff like that. And I think that like if you are going to be serious in jiu-jitsu, it doesn't really fit that marketing.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. And I mean, I would agree with you. I've been around jiu-jitsu a long time. There is a fun, silly strand that exists in the jiu-jitsu community all over the place. You can look to the B team, Craig Jones. They've really monetized that whole like we're just
their
fun mentality.
Their marketing is brilliant. Like it's they have like I can tell watching their videos, their gym is a very serious gym. Like it would be a hard gym to roll at, but you know what? They need that humor. They need, Craig Jones trying to give away a Miata. They need it. It works for them. I think that they're finding a lot of success in their gym because of that marketing. People want to know that you have something that's tough, like the best people, but they also want it to be fun. This is a show. Like it doesn't have to be, wrestling, like professional wrestling, but it can be fun and tough and good and show the best athletes. Because some of these athletes, like I'm really good friends with them and they're like not amazing at marketing. And they're not amazing to talk to in real life. They're very harsh and they're very real and almost too gritty for a lot of people to understand. And so by having sort of fun marketing, it makes them more approachable to the audience and it's more fun. Like our friend Gabriel Austin Daffron, he's been on our show a ton. He's been a several time champion on our show, still is on our show, even though he's gotten a lot bigger. He likes to support local. He does Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds promos and he's like wearing a karate gi and like breaking boards and stuff. He's having a good time and you can have fun and still be tough. And I think Flo has to grow and learn that you can have fun and be serious.
For sure. And I mean, I was literally about to ask you, so maybe you just answer it. Like, what do you think, what would you like to see Flow doing differently as, the role that they play in jiu-jitsu, which is a pretty important one?
I think that they need to sort of take themselves a little less seriously. I think one of the reasons Fight to Win left is because I feel like Seth Daniels is a pretty fun guy. Like he comes off as very serious, but he's also like kind of hilarious in a way too. And I feel like that was part of his problem with using the platform, is that he kind of does fun themes, and you know, I think that they have to have fun. Like it can't always be like the world champion screaming. It can't always be, and it can be that too. It can be fun and that. I think like one of the most exciting promotions I'm watching right now is Polaris. Polaris is doing it perfectly. They're doing exactly what I would love to do. Like they're doing like this serious, like hard sort of marketing, but then they just put out a promo last week that was like 1990s themed, and the people are dancing, and it's, funny, but it's also entertaining, and it's also serious. There were some serious people in that video. So it's kind of like I would look to them if I were FloGrappling, try to sign them if they can, because I think that Polaris right now is doing it right.
For sure, for sure. And this is maybe a difficult question to answer, but do you think, not to put you on the spot, do you think Flow, as important as they are in the community, right? They have all the IBJJF matches, ADCC, their own shows, a number of other smaller shows that we maybe don't hear about very much. Do you think on par they are good for grappling, for jujitsu?
Oh, that's a hard question. I think that they are good overall. They're really trying to put people out there. I think that the dangerous thing is when you get too much power, sometimes you lose the ability to innovate. And so I think by being very traditional, they're risking being able to be creative and be able to sign like shows like mine, for example, or keep shows like mine, because I think that jujitsu is changing. Like, I don't know this for sure, but I don't know if there are any other women owners on Flow. I might have been one of the only ones. Maybe they're co-owners. I'm the main owner of my business. I'm the one who signed the Flow contract. And so, that was a real opportunity for them to sort of step outside the box. But they have to commit to, like, you can be both. Like, you can have IBJJF, you can have ADCC and be hard, but also have people like, finishers and Midwest finishers and us, and like put us out there and, let us be weird. Because some people, you have to reach everybody. You can't just reach the hard line people. You have to, the hard bodies who want to watch like people growl when they win. You gotta like catch people who are weird, and like 10th Planet, and like, Nogi, and they have a lot of like, they're growing, but they have to like build the infrastructure to grow.
For sure. I think you bring up something that honestly I don't know if I've thought much about is, I've interviewed a number of female professional grapplers, and they all talk about, I would like to see more female representation in jujitsu. Something I had admittedly had not really thought about is like, are there women in positions of power in jujitsu, whether it's at the IBJJF or Flow, ADCC, whatever that might be? I think it's interesting you bring up that, like, as far as you're the only female owner of a promotion that's on Flow.
One thing that I found that because, Flow in some ways was great for us because we did get some wider exposure. We got a national exposure, and a lot of people who probably wouldn't have done the show before were like, oh, they're on Flow. So Flow says that they're okay. So they must be legit. So that was one good thing that I would say came out of having a FloGrappling contract. Um, I would meet a lot of women, and women would contact me, and it was funny. They'd be like, oh, I see you're doing a 185 bracket, for example. And they'd be like, I know this lady in Chicago, and here's her Instagram. And then I would ask the lady, oh, well, how did you find out about us? And they'd be like, well, I work on finishers. Like, I work on the team for finishers. And then I would meet another woman who worked on the team for Midwest finishers. And then I find this when we go to gyms, like we're here down in Vegas, and we went to Drysdale's gym, the Zenith gym. And you go to the desk, and there's a lady running the desk, and she's like, I'm a brown belt. And, so despite what people think about women not being involved in the sport, they are very much involved in the sport. They may not have a visual role, but they're like co-owners of gyms. They're, they're doing matchmaking behind the scenes. They're running cameras. It's a lot more women than they would think. And it's a huge opportunity that they're missing out on, to appeal to like women grapplers. Like, we just had the ADCC Opens, and they did the rankings on FloGrappling for that. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not seen the updated rankings, I should say.
Yeah, I think the last one was for the Denver show. And so like they're doing these rankings, but like they have all the men's weight classes, but they have a pound for pound for the women. And it's like that's super limiting. Like we have a 135 women's champion who won the ADCC Advanced Canada. She won her bracket. And she's not even listed on the pound for pound because, I don't know, maybe there was something lost in the sauce between Fight Pass and Flow. But it's like, if you have this, you should show, it should be by weight. You should show all of this, make it even. Like, don't just have pound for pound for all the women over 3 shows. Like, it's like, you're not going to make women disappear. They're still here. They're still running gyms. Like every gym that I go to, there's a woman running something, like somewhere behind the scenes or sometimes outwardly. So, it's a huge loss if they're not going to sort of market. Like I think Polaris had a really successful women's Grand Prix recently. And that was amazing. It was some of the best matches I've ever seen, like in recent times. And it was an upset. Like Elizabeth Clay won. I think Elizabeth K, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, she won. Yeah, she won. And it was like an upset because no one had ever seen her, because they don't always show women in her weight class. Like she came up in weight for that tournament because, no one ever sees the either smaller or the bigger women. Or even, that's the case for some of the men too. Like some of the brackets are lost. Like my husband's competes at a rooster weight. When do you ever see like a 125 bracket on anything?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you another question. This is super interesting to me. For women, for these changes to happen, for women to get more voices in jiu-jitsu, higher opportunities, bigger opportunities, does that change need to happen at Flow, or can the change happen in jiu-jitsu without Flow ever changing?
I think it can happen at both. Like it has to happen at both. Like, I ran a women's show in February, and that was a great opportunity to market it. Like, I know Seth Daniels has run a Fight to Win that was all women, and these things are getting very little attention, like marketing. It doesn't take but 5 minutes to put up, hey, look at this event. It's interesting. It takes like 5 minutes on a website to do that, like to just shift something so you can see something different occasionally. And so, and then in my case, the reason I do what I do, like we always have women featured somewhere in the main event or co-main. And the reason is because of visibility. Like I will try to feature women as much as I can. Like we've had cards where half the card is women, because I want women to be seen. I want like local and bigger women and smaller women to be seen. Like, and so it's really funny because like a lot of people wonder how I find like the people that I do. They're like, oh, you'll never find 185 women bracket. I had, alternatives. I went to Smooth Comp. It wasn't that hard. You go to Smooth Comp and you look through the brackets and you find that one woman who had no opponents and is in the bracket by herself. And it's not hard.
For sure. It's interesting. Let's end on a positive note here. Tell me, what are Battle Grappling's plans the rest of 2023? And also tell me, you mentioned earlier, like, who are some names coming out of the Pacific Northwest that I should be tuned into that we're probably going to see at an even higher level soon?
Okay. So in September 16th, we're having our second remote show in Tri-Cities, Washington at Evolve Octopus. That's Alex Laramie's gym. He's a SUG veteran. So that's very exciting. He has a beautiful facility. He recently had a flood there, so it's all rebuilt, and he managed to get his gym back in order. So that's good. The community really helped him with that. So we want to go out there and support him and get some more people in his gym and looking at what he's doing. And we're excited about that one. We're doing a women's heavyweight title for cash prize, so 8-woman tournament. So far, I'm really impressed with the level of talent we've got. We've got a black belt out of California. We've got like 2 brown belts, and we got a couple purple belts so far. So it'll be good. Talent in this area. Oh man, there's so much. Like, we have a 170 champion named Harrison Woods, who's a monster. Like, that kid is so good. He's really impressive. He's like 18 years old. He's a brown belt already. He's out of Matt Kwan's gym at On Guard up in Vancouver, BC. And so I would be watching probably the ADCC that's coming up in Vancouver. He's probably going to be the winner. I would not be surprised. He is so talented. And, you know, also he's an interesting kid. He's just like, we're doing this 8-man tournament. And I mean, we have some really amazing names in it. Like, we got this guy named Joshua Backlaw from Gracie Barra, who's a black belt. And he's just like, make sure you have my money in 20s. And I'm like, we haven't done the bracket yet. So he's really good. And then another one to watch, our 170 champion women, Maria Ruffalo. She just got her black belt. She just competed at IBJJF Worlds. She didn't win, but it's, you know, she's been a national champion and a world champion at Brown. So she's one to watch. She's really, really talented. And I'm trying to think, is there anybody else? There's a lot of really talented people up here. And I'm sure you find this in Kansas too, where like you see these people and you're like, yeah, that person's going to be somebody. Like, I remember when we met our friend Austin, we met him at like a little local tournament, and I was looking at him and I was like, that kid's going to be somebody. Like, he's just so talented, and it's time for the PNW to step up and be recognized. I mean, we have a really amazing MMA community here. Let's be known for grappling.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Man, this has been great talking to you, hearing about your plans. You know, your perspective is really interesting. That's all the questions I have for you today, though. Again, Laura, thank you so much for joining me. Battle Grappling, what is your Instagram? Let us know your like socials where people should be following the promotion.
Oh, we're at Battle Grappling. I think it's battle_grappling. And then we're also at www.battlegrappling.com.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.